It's okay.
Okay. I think it's going to take a couple minutes to show up on YouTube, but hi, if you are watching the replay. Hi, thanks for being here. I actually thought that I'd have like multiple people, and then that didn't work out, so I'm really glad.
Oh
Like,
no.
um, yeah, I'm really glad I asked you and you said yes, or it would just be me spouting who knows what on the internet. But
Gloriousness. Spouting gloriousness.
no, no.
Very convincing.
So disclaimer, as usual, because it's the internet and it's required, I do not speak for the entire white Booktube community. Meeks does not speak for the entire Black Booktok writer community. We're just gonna say what we think and our opinions as of today. New information pending. You never know
Exactly.
what might change. But I figured we would just start with talking about the Barnes and Noble situation, which has people just losing their minds in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So if you're not familiar, Barnes and Noble, like very recently, yesterday, day before, I don't know.
The day before?
Yeah,
Maybe.
probably, right? It has to be. They announced that they are going to only be carrying like the bestsellers in hardcover. So they're going to carry a bunch of things in paperback still, but if you're not their top seller, if you're not the one that the publisher is pushing, then you're not going to be in the stores.
Mhm.
And it's interesting in a few different ways. One, because a lot of books, romance kind of excluded, come out in hardcover when they're released. They don't really come out in paperbacks. So obviously, also, a lot of people have pointed out that this is going to affect mid-list authors, debut authors, and especially authors of color, because if you're not familiar with publishing, into if you're not familiar, like you have at least a 90% chance of picking up a white author. Like publishing is going to always, as of from the beginning of time to now, they're always going to have predominantly white authors. So the if they're only selling like the top ones, then more than likely it's the authors of color majority wise who are going to just not show up in stores. And some people are saying you can't call Barnes and Noble racist. Like,
Is it calling them racist, or saying that they're playing into the system that they've already created?
right, exactly. And it's like, is Barnes and Noble the entire problem with publishing?
No.
No. Are they not doing a whole lot to combat the problems of publishing? Also, maybe not. I mean, I know I talked to someone earlier who used to work for Barnes and Noble, and they were just like, it's the lower level employees who are pushing diversity. It's the lower level employees who are paid horribly and treated horribly. And it's not like corporate or the higher ups are like, yay, diversity. Yes, this is so important. Like they have an entire section that's Harry Potter merchandise. I have a book.
10 to 12 years later, they still have giant chest collection sets of Harry Potter and Barnes and Noble taking up shelves and shelves and shelves. Let it go.
You tell me. I feel like right after she kind of first really went on the tirades, that people kind of did draw back on promoting her stuff. And it kind of feels like, you tell me what you think. So I'm gonna let you talk about this. It kind of feels like to me, like 2020, we were kind of like BLM, like let's make some progress here. In 2022, it's kind of like JK, let's go way back, like a good solid 30 years back.
Yeah. Pretty much about 30 years back. So I think that actually has a lot to do with what's happening now. And I think that a lot of people called it in 2020. We had all these protests and we had people addressing things like their inner bias and maybe the ways that they were raised and how they talk in private versus public. We had a lot of that going on. And while we were in that first few months of 2020 when all of this was happening, people were like, I'm pledging to be better. I'm going to be a better person. I'm going to talk to people. I'm going to be in the streets, right? People got tired. That's exactly what happened. People got tired. All these corporations that are making pledges to make better decisions with things like diversity and inclusion and equity and equality, they got tired. And what they did was they looked at their bottom line and went, I think we've catered to the blacks and browns enough now. Let us begin other things. They said we're done with it. Especially in this case right now, I don't think this is the only thing that's affecting the Barnes and Noble situation. But overall, and I think Aiden said it best, Aiden, the author of Cemetery Boys, they mentioned that, I'm not going to put it as eloquently, basically that this is a capitalist hellscape that's happening. And a lot of the thing that made capitalism work was what? Racism. Because when you keep somebody on the top, there's always someone down here. And these structures cannot work without that. So now you have Barnes & Noble, who is owned by this hedge fund group. I forgot the name, Elliott Management, something or other. They own Barnes & Noble. They own Waterstones. They will own Blackwells soon enough. They also own a bunch of other investment things. But what this means is that they now own two of the largest brick and mortar booksellers, right? So what they say goes. And do you think that there is a lot of diversity in that boardroom? No. I guarantee you there's none. There may be a woman. There may be a singular East Asian somewhere in there, right? Somewhere in there. There may be one. There's always one. But that one person, do you think they're going to risk their job and their millions to make change? No. And you said it earlier. It's these low-level employees who are being abused and underpaid that are making the change for everybody.
Right.
But again, I think people are tired. People are tired. That's what it comes down to. So you have people.
I think you see that in every low-level position, if you will, in publishing, that especially if it is a Black editor or a Black author or any BIPOC, they go like really hard for like a period of time, and then it's just like I can't go on living like this. I literally can't sacrifice myself for nothing to get like one book a year out. You know, it really feels like publishing just kind of is such a toxic environment in that way that even the people who really truly want to do the work and be the change, they have nowhere to go. They're just constantly running against the wall. And you can only do that for so long.
You can only do it for so long.
Right.
There's oh gosh, I forgot her name. She's wonderful. But there was an agent there. I mean, there were tons of agents that were pulled into these agencies, right? At the beginning of 2020. They were pulled in. They were, oh, look at us with our new division dedicated to diversity and inclusion.
Right.
I can name on one hand the amount of agents still with those agencies and with an agency in general. Because what happened was they got in, they were bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. People were like, yeah, look at you go. Look at you fixing our problem. But, after they don't get any support or on-the-job training, any of that, they leave because they're not making any money. They're not making any change because no one is actually on board with them. So it all comes capitalist hellscape, people being tired, no support. You're not seeing any change, so you wonder if the change is worth it to keep trying for. It just keeps going down. And that's why people on Booktube and Booktok, I'm not going to say book, which is book Facebook in my brain. I think that readers are doing a lot of the work, but you sent this on the list of questions, so I don't want to get too far into it yet.
You can say what you want. It's fine.
You mentioned that Booktok and Book Twitter are making change, but what happens when you tokenize, like you said, when you tokenize maybe one Black creator, one East Asian creator, one Southeast Asian creator, one South Asian creator? When you start tokenizing these various existences, one gay reader, one lesbian, you start not getting the full picture. Because I think you find, like me, I read a lot of fantasy, right? Then you go to people like, there are so many romance book talkers. But you can go to anybody, right? There's people who do fantasy, there's people who do romance, there's people who do nonfiction. Like Jess Owens is doing nonfiction. She's doing it for the girls.
Yes.
You got to follow all these different people, and I just don't believe that people are putting the effort to do it.
Oh yeah, I very much agree. I feel like one, you have kind of the bingo board diversity, like you were saying. Okay, I have my Black historical author. I don't need any others. And the one Black historical author is always Beverly Jenkins, who like deserves all the good that comes her way. Like she does, and more than. But if somebody's going to read a historical romance by a Black author, is always going to be Beverly Jenkins.
Yes.
Maybe Alyssa Cole, but always going to be Beverly Jenkins.
I have met people who don't even know that she did that.
Yeah. And it's just like, and then you have the readathons where it's 4 white creators and one BIPOC. It's not, it's only going to be one. We're not going to have two. We're not going to have two of the same marginalization. That's for sure. Like, I'm just like, what are we doing? And it's just so weird to me. Or you'll have like an entire like large group of creators, and there's one BIPOC creator in there, and it's like their token friend that they have for everything. And it's like, see, we're not white supremacists. We have one.
We have one.
Like, you can't only have one friend and only read Beverly Jenkins, and everything else is white, and everything else is straight, and everything else is able-bodied, and you're doing the work. Like, you are not. I'm so sorry, but you are not.
And it's we see this the most in, Black History Month, right? And AAPI Month, in Hispanic, Latinx, Heritage Month. We see it every time. And I think now, and this is me being maybe perhaps a petty, cynical person, I'd be surprised. I'm going to be really surprised if this year, in 2023, if anybody besides, the people who do it year round, do anything for Black History Month. And I'll tell you why. It's because on Booktok, there was a reckoning. There was fire and brimstone. Because there were several non-POC creators who were like, read Legend Born. And that was the only Black book they said. Or what was it? Read Hate You Give. And that was the only one. And everyone was like,
cut. Or 7 Days in June. Is that the right title? That was like the book of the month.
Yeah.
That month. And it was like best book of the year for like every single person. I was like, wow.
We were aghast. We were stunned.
They did their part. They read the book of the month pick.
They didn't even read it. They just held it up repeatedly in videos, being like, I read one Black book.
Yes.
I read one Black book.
I absolutely believe it. It's just, I feel like also with the general public, again, from 2020, from BLM, we have slid far enough that it's like, well, you can grow a very large following with no diversity, and you're not going to get called out for it. Like, you're not going to get called out. Or if you are called out for it, it doesn't matter, because the people who watch you don't watch those creators anyways. Like, there are some people that I could think of that's like, yeah, they read 99% white books, and their audience is there for that reason. Like, you cannot tell me that they're not. And so always kind of feels suspicious to me when other people are like friends with them or whatever. And I'm like, okay, but like how long do you have to watch before you see the pattern? Because you see the pattern, and it's not any one month, it's not any one wrap up, or it's are you able to read 90 books and have one BIPOC book in there, one queer book in there? It's just, I don't know. It's one of those things where publishing is going to give you majority white, right? And they're also going to give you majority all of the things, straight, het, cis, all the things. But so then if book creators also are only picking up those books and then are only recommending those books, let's say you don't get that many views on your video, let's say you get 200 views on your video, you talked about 5 books, all 5 of those books have no diversity in them, then I would argue, and don't come at me because yes, I do have videos where like there's not a diversity in the trope or whatever, but I would argue that you are perpetuating the problem because you just told 200 people, for all intents and purposes, about books that don't require any advertisement for them because they're already what everyone's willing to pick up.
Exactly.
And I feel like too, I feel like the issue is always kind of liberal white people, in that we will often be like, you know, I will go out of my way to read a Black author, but if you don't, that's okay. Like, do better, live and learn. I too was once on this journey. And like, okay, but there are so many people who either one simply do not care at all because they live in the privileged bubble where you don't have to care. You don't have to think about these issues literally at all. You can claim ignorance and that be true, but also like that's not a good thing. And or secondly, you have the people who are like violently racist who, oh, you know what? I just realized I never did the admin for this video and I didn't do the description or anything. It's fine. Okay. Fine. I'm gonna have to remember to do that.
Oh dear.
Anyways, violently racist who will like go out of their way to not read a Black author or not read a Black character or give that book a 1-star review because they couldn't relate to the characters or what have you. So when those people will go out of their way to cause harm, if all of the allies are not willing to go out of their way to prevent harm, then how are we ever going to make progress? And I feel like that's kind of where the fault lies, to be perfectly honest.
That's an interesting, I'm obviously not of the Caucasus Mountains, right? Like I come from a different mountain. And it's interesting to hear you say that, only because I don't feel like, not to like white savior you or anything like that. I don't want to make you uncomfortable. But you said you went out of your way to read Black authors. I feel like you're far past that stage. I think it's a very natural reach for you now. Yeah.
Right. But at the same time, I think, and I would argue that this depends on how you're raised, but most people, even if they are BIPOC or even if they are part of any marginalized community, they can still be reading all white. They can still be reading all able-bodied, you know, all that, because again, that's the majority of books. So I feel like most people do have to reach a point where they purposely do it. Then once you purposely decide to do it, you know, it stacks on top of itself until like half your favorite authors are going to be diverse in some way. So of course you can be diversely.
Of course, yes. And that's where I wanted to go. It's you have to, a lot of this is a humanity issue, right? Like, can you humanize a different character that does not in any way easily fit you, right? So I could read, you know, when I was growing up, I read as much as I could that was diverse, but that wasn't really presented to me in the same way. I'm an old, for those who don't know. I grew up in the 90s. I read those Scholastic Book Fair books that I could get my hands on, and it was a good time. But I think what's happening now for younger people, like I would say early 20s, teens, and kids, is that they're able to easily go into these stores and find people who look like them at such a rate that reading someone who doesn't look like them is not a stretch for them anymore. It's very normal. But for people who genuinely have no idea how to relate to people that are different than them, relating to a fictional character that is different than them is it's hard for them, despite knowing in our brains that you can find something to relate to someone on a personal level over anything. Do you like cheese? Yes. Oh, great. We're friends now. Awesome.
Right.
But some people don't think like that. It's, do you like cheese and are you white?
Right.
Yes? Okay, good. I can relate to you now. Do you like, you know, you can say this fantasy has blaster weapons and that person really likes blaster weapons, but the second they find out the character is black, brown, whatever, suddenly blaster weapons is not the issue. You know, it's stuff like that. You have to be able to relate to people on a human level and then relate to characters that may not necessarily be exactly the same as you. I think that's ultimately where the problem is. Like that screenshot that was going around maybe like a couple weeks ago. Do you remember that? Yeah. I don't think I can read that because their skin is brown and it'll take me out of the story. Yeah, like what is that? What is that? Makes no sense.
The fact that she was like, this is going to sound bad, but it's going to sound bad. That's going to sound racist. Weird. Must be like a coincidence. I don't know how that.
Who would find that bad, darling? Who knows?
But she said what lots of people have said.
Yeah.
You know?
She just got caught.
Yeah. But it's just, you know, proof at how prevalent that viewpoint is. And that's why I truly do not think that you can say, oh, I don't care about the author. I just pick up any book that sounds good to me. That's fine. But that means you're picking up white books. Like I wish that we lived in a world, and like you were saying, you can go into a store and you can see yourself represented, and that is so much better than it was in the 90s and the 80s and all in the early 2000s, all of that. But at the point that we're at now, still, you cannot really accidentally read diversely.
Yes.
It has to be on purpose, whether that's because you are making sure that you are following creators who recommend diversely. So naturally, each and every book that you hear about, there's a higher chance that it's going to be diverse. So the ones that you're like, oh, that sounds good, that sounds exactly what I'm in the mood for, again, you have a higher percentage chance of it being diverse in some way, because that's the type of recommender that you follow, right? But the reality is, like, if you don't care, then you're going to read all white. Like, or 99% white, or 90% white, which I would argue is a bad percentage.
I too would argue such things. But what's beautiful about like the side of the community that we hang out on is that there is a lot of people who are like, their reading is so expansive, and I wake up every day thankful that I found this side of Twitter. It gets wild, right? But like ultimately, I can go to your channel and find Rex for whatever I want. Be that an author of any background, like literally an author of any background. I'm pretty sure I could find it on your channel. I can go to Bookish Bethany, who is also a wonderful creator who happens to be white, and find diverse Rex. So it's there's so many of us here, but there's so many, unfortunately, I would argue there are so many others who literally have the most bland set of book recommendations that you will ever find.
Yeah. I got in trouble a couple months ago, and it was, I will argue, I will give people the credit. I could have ordered it better, but
oh no.
I was saying that if you're a new creator or a baby creator or a small channel, why are you just regurgitating the recommendations of larger channels? Like, why? I can watch the same person you watched who already did all the recommendations. I don't understand why I should then go watch your like bad quality video because you filmed 2 videos. Of course it's bad. Like, that's not shame, but why am I going to go watch you to be like, I don't know, I heard about X next talk about it and it sounds really good for like 15 minutes. And then it's like 100 channels like that. And I'm like, what are we doing?
Yup.
So yeah, then people are like, I don't like how you're talking about small creators. And I was like, I am a small creator. I don't know what you want from me. Like, I mean, I don't know. Yes, if you want to talk about Pride and Prejudice or the Hunger Games or whatever that everyone's heard of, go for it. I am not stopping you. But I'm just saying, if like every single one of your monthly TBRs wrap-ups is a list of things that you got from the same 3 big creators who just read it, like in their blog or their video that month, I don't know. I don't see the point. But more power to you. Obviously, the fan club supports its own. It's fine. Go ahead.
And there it is. The fan club supports its own.
It does.
Interesting.
It is interesting to see who gets adopted and who gets ignored, I will say.
I could go off on that for days, and I won't. Just know that I'm happy that I am on the right side of book Twitter and Booktok.
Oh my word. So, I know you probably saw it. Someone just did a comment today, maybe, on Booktok where they were saying they'd never seen a Black romance reviewer on Booktok before. And people were eating them alive.
It's
like, it's a For You page. If you've not had any Black reviewers recommended to you, that's because of what you're watching and liking and ignoring and scrolling past.
That's what it is. And then again, the person's video in which that comment was on is I don't want to start anything. You guys can tell me I'm wrong, okay? I believe that creator is the type that people tokenize, and I believe that creator will suffer for it in the future. Right. I'm saying this with all love, okay? All love. I believe that the Black community will help this person when they do eventually get in trouble. However, I hope very much that they start presenting, they have a responsibility to their audience and the responsibility to themselves. I do hope that they begin to present more diverse options with their reading. Right. I believe that they will be better for it. And I believe that through that tokenization, use the power of tokenization if you can, I suppose. Good for you. Right. Use it. Maybe educate a few people while you're there.
Right. Mm-hmm. Although I will say, this is just my observation. It might not be true of everyone, but it does kind of seem like those who are tokenized don't really speak a whole lot on issues, like at all. Like they don't.
They will do what they do for their audience.
And I'm always kind of interested when you do see creators getting tokenized and or authors, I suppose, but I guess I know the creator stuff more. Because I'm like, okay, if I personally view your buddies as white supremacists, then I'm going to have to view their audience, their diehard stans at least, as more of the same. So if you're their token, are they ever really going to give you the same views or the same support, or like they're not. So I'm just kind of curious when people go that route, because I'm just like, do you not see the group that you're in? Don't know. I mean,
everybody learns in their own time. Everybody learns.
Well, some of us, some of us learn. Some of us less so.
For some, and I can obviously, I don't want to say this of tokens who are from different backgrounds. I just happen to think that when you're speaking solely as a Black woman, when you are tokenized as a Black woman, I promise you, the pedestal you fall off of will come with no cushion.
Yeah. So. I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, well, I don't wish, I do not at all wish her harm or anguish or anything. It's hard for me to watch sometimes when that happens. Whether it's a Black woman or anybody else, honestly, because You just want people to be safe. That's it. You just want people to be safe. And I wish that she could be safe and still have such an overwhelming audience. But I just don't think it's possible. And again, that's me being a cynical person. Okay, I'm a cynical old biddy.
I mean, I feel like there's a lot of different examples of it, right? It's not like just the thing that pulling out of our hat and we're like, oh, I don't know about that. It's like, no, you keep seeing people be burned by it because the way society is and the way that publishing is and Booktube and Booktok, because we're all part of society, we're just a small little chasm of it. Like they don't value anybody who's not the standard. And so the standard can make as many mistakes as they want and it won't matter. And the exception can make like the smallest mistake and there's no coming back from it. Like ever. Your career is over.
Career's over, platform over, job over, you know, anything could be over in a second when you've not backed yourself with a solid community and instead with people who perhaps have flocked to you for the wrong reasons. And I don't really know. I have a small platform, right? My platform, I believe, is made up of people who would never purposefully see harm to me. And I do mean mostly. I can't account for everybody. I don't know everybody. But me being able to say that means a lot to me, right? I value safety over almost anything. But I can't imagine that everybody can say that. So, you know.
Yeah. I am curious as to whether you have seen some of the kind of what word do I want to use? I guess just calling it panicking or overreacting of a lot of, I know I've specifically seen like a handful of Black authors on Twitter talking about Barnes and Noble and then kind of being accused of spreading misinformation and panic and, you know, you're overreacting and stuff. What do you think about that?
It fits the normal script of things, especially since, again, a lot of them were Black women. And when Black women say, hey, this is looking bad, people go, you're blowing stuff up. You're being emotional. Stop being an angry Black woman. And the person who broke the initial like viral tweet was a Black woman, were they not? Like, you know? And then I think immediately after that tweet, I saw, if you guys don't know who this is, she just had a book come out called The Undead Truth of Us. Brittany S. Lewis is perhaps the most adorable woman I've ever seen on this planet. And her book is absolutely wonderful. I highly recommend it. I got an arc of it. I got the final copy of it. It's beautiful. But she came on and she tweeted a small thread that basically said that Barnes & Noble won't be stocking her book. This is her debut. This is her chance. After 10 years of rejections, she finally gets to publish with Disney, and she's spent months, you know, having her dream realized finally, only for Barnes & Noble to suddenly switch it up. And how curious that must feel, I bet. And it makes you kind of start thinking about things like, you know, is it worth it at this point? Is it worth it? And I think either that's what they want BIPOC to feel in general, marginalized voices to feel in general, or they legitimately just don't see the impact, which is more likely the case. I'm going to be honest with you. If it doesn't have to do with money, they don't care about it. Everyone else be damned. But here's the other thing. I think a lot of people think that because of that thread and because of other threads that came after it, Barnes & Noble is only hitting BIPOC. And while this will mostly affect BIPOC people, marginalized people, disabled people, it is hitting, the main category that it's hitting is middle grade and YA. Everyone needs to keep that in mind because of how popular YA is. This will mean a huge cutback in things being read in general. And I do believe that this will cause, like you said earlier, an influx of people regurgitating the same two books over and over and over again.
Right.
So the thing about it is, yes, this is very scary if you are even remotely brown. Yes, you are correct. The barrier to entry for publishing, hard already for you. Now getting your books on shelves, hard already for you. But I present a new situation. Everyone on like the reader side, we get together and we work directly with these authors. I think the landscape is going to change. And this is, I'm sorry if I'm ranting, but I'm so excited about this conversation.
You're doing great. You're doing great, sweetie.
I'm so excited. And I hate being excited because this is terrible. Everyone be sad about it. But I think this is a great opportunity for authors, be they trad or self-pub, to really change the landscape of how we think about acquiring books as readers and marketing books as writers. And the reason I think this is because a lot of people were asking me how I managed to get the Bloodmark arc with my small ass platform. And I was like, oh, well, Tracy Dion is dope as shit. So I reached out to her directly. And she managed to get my name on a list. I think Tracy's amazing. She knows this. I was on the ground when Legendborn was,
right.
You've
been literally talking about the entire time.
I wouldn't shut up about it, and that, I believe, got Tracy's notice. And then 2 years later, when she's releasing the follow-up, she goes, oh, hey, Meeks can have a box. I think if we keep thinking in terms of like directly interacting with authors in a respectable manner, please, yes, that was warranted. I think that can change how everything goes, because we need to stop depending on people in ivory towers to tell us what to read. Everything is at our fingertips now. We can change literally everything and tell these people who have no idea what's going on, down with us poor people, where to shove it. We can do that.
Right. I find it very interesting too, because I do not go in bookstores. Like, I don't buy books. I read from the library and Kindle Unlimited. In fact, I have a video going up because I got it from Bethany at Beautifully Booked Bethany. I already have it edited and everything. It's going up on Tuesday. It's all the money that I've spent on books so far of the year. And I don't buy books. I do not. But so I have not been in a bookstore since a while before pandemic, like a year or two before pandemic. Like I'm not in bookstores. So for me, it makes literally no difference whatsoever. Like, I wasn't going in Barnes and Noble anyway, right? But at some point it does affect me, because someone I follow would have found that book on their, shop with me blog or whatever. And then that's when they would have started recommending it. And then that's when I would have heard about it. Right. But I know, like, for me, because I do read almost completely romance, I love indie romance authors. I think that they are doing the best work that there is.
Agreed.
Partially because they can do any random thing that comes into their mind. And partially because they don't have to make it past a racist committee of people to get their book out. That story doesn't have to get past all those people. It can go straight from the author to the reader, or the author and their trusted editor that they handpick themselves and have final say over, to the reader. And so, like, all of the representation, all of the language, and even just like random things like the steamy scenes, like, it can be whatever the author wants it to be. And it doesn't have to be censored for the masses, because anytime you're going to the masses, you have to water it down to make it more acceptable to more people. And the indie authors don't have to do that. They can write very specifically. But I feel like romance is kind of the only genre where indie is thriving like that right now.
Agreed.
So,
well, I caveat
for
it.
like middle grade and young adult and all these things, like, I don't know any indie ones.
I know of a few, but they all write adult fantasy. Like I said, I'm a fantasy girl. Okay, I love things, and also a sci-fi girl. But you're completely right. I think right now romance indie is they have their methods. They have the control right now, and I think this is me being hopeful. I think if the romance girlies and gays and theys got together with everybody else, we would see some massive change. Only because romance dominates trad or self-pub, right? Um, I think I don't want to say it like this because I know it's going to sound way too outlandish, but they could save us all. They can do it. Because I think that they have a system down from self-pub to trad that just works. They have something working that they have not shared with the rest of us. But I do want to mention just quickly, yeah, adult fantasy has a huge self-pub presence. Do I think it's as good as the romance girlies? No, not yet. I think they're working on it because it's expensive to edit a fantasy book by like an extra $1,000. But but I think, you know, adult fantasy exists. Adult sci-fi can also have a big presence. I think once they get their feet down, I think we'll see YA, all of those genres come up, and then I think we'll see middle grade also have a really good presence. I think they could do it. I really do. But it would require not just authors to take the plunge and really change up how they interact with people. It would also take editors too. It would also mean that like agents maybe don't have a bigger as big of a presence in the process, which I think is scary because they are the middle people to everybody else, right? I think I don't know. In my mind, in my dream mind, when I think of the future of books being published, I don't see necessarily all the big publishing houses going down. I think they have a very good use, but I do see authors going from their computers, their notepads, straight to an editor and to their author team. I see them having teams and then going straight to the consumer from there. I see them having more control. I see them making a better living off of their writing. And I can't tell if that's me as a reader or me as a writer dreaming up that fantasy, but I think either way, it works for both sides. But the problem is what happens to people with contracts already? What happens to people who work at these big publishing houses? So I want to see it so bad. I want to see it so bad.
Well, I think it's one of those things too where the system doesn't work and hasn't worked and really does cater to wealthy and elite and people who already have contacts in publishing and all of the things, right? And you kind of wonder how bad it has to get before any real change is going to happen because, again, you did kind of have that whole push for diversity, and it wasn't enough, even so.
No.
You did kind of have that whole push for diversity, and it feels like we very quickly slid back to you know where we were before. We have our one author for the year. We don't need another one, you know. So I just kind of wonder, especially with the DOJ trial and Barnes and Noble, and of course you have all of the social media. So you have all these people relaying their experiences and explaining things, and you know, so much more communication than you did 80 years ago. I just wonder how bad publishing has to get before all the alternatives, the self-publishing stuff, is a real option for everything, you know, not just romance, not just fantasy, but for everyone. It's like you can do either one. But I don't know.
I'll tell you, when they legitimately see a problem with consumers, as in consumers say, we want you to keep publishing these books by BIPOC, by LGBTQIA+, by disabled people. We want you to do this, or we're not buying your top lead titles. That's the only time they will see a change. Because what's going to happen, they're going to keep, you know, promoting. I can't say James Patterson, he has his own thing going on, but let's say he wasn't. They're going to put out James Patterson and SJM every single time, right? Let's say those are the only two books in the store. When people keep walking in the store and ask, you know, people, oh, do you have anything else? And they say no, and the person walks straight out. That's the only time that we will see change. You have to use your wallet. You have to use your money dollars. That's the only time they listen.
Right. I agree, but do you think that falls on the readers? then?
unfortunately.
Like, are we the domino effect?
Yes.
And then I guess if it falls on readers, then how much of readers falls on creators?
That's the real question. Well, I guess the first question is, do I trust that we could do this as a community? Absolutely not. I don't trust half these hoes. Okay? Point blank period. But do I think
Yeah.
that maybe if we make it so difficult for people to get by with the bare minimum, uh, then we'll see change? Maybe. But again, I don't trust half these hoes. If sometimes people get caught straight up calling someone the N-word, and then someone else in the comment is like, oh, they didn't know. It's 2022. They knew. Hood River Rat.
Surely they know. Listen, that whole thing is so wild.
I didn't have the energy to even be mad at that woman. I went in because I was like, I'm on this new kick where I believe in Jesus, and he keeps me calm, right? And I'm like, I'm gonna not pop off on anybody anymore. That's just not me anymore. I don't want to do this. So someone sent me the video. I watched it, her little apology, and I went to the comment section of people just dragging her to hell and back. And I typed out only one word, girl, and I left. That was it.
I just cannot. I saw someone in like another creator's video. So a different creator responded to a comment that this person said. I don't know which video they did, but they were like, she probably didn't know. My kids have been called hoodlum like their whole life. Like that's the thing we call kids. And arguably, I'm like, okay, did my grandma call me a hoodlum? Absolutely. Yes, she did. But it's one of those things where, yeah, with a white person, it's not a big deal. No one's actually going to view you as a hoodlum. Your your grandma can call you that when you're doing whatever. And you know what? It probably has racist origins, even if she doesn't mean it in a racist way, because you're her white grandkid. It doesn't change the fact that it has racist origins. And so then when you do use it for a black criminal for your book,
that's all anyone can do.
It's just like, I don't know what to tell you. Like,
use 3% of your brain. That's it.
You meant what you said. You said what you meant. Like, then you got in trouble for it. So
wild.
Act like I don't think she knew what the means. Seems suspicious.
How old is that lady?
And you know what? This is the thing that really truly kills me inside. Maybe you didn't know. Maybe you didn't know. Maybe ignorance truly is your reason. But then should you be writing that character? If you didn't know that much?
Layers.
I'm just like, okay, so you're ignorant. I understand. You had no idea, but then you shouldn't have written the book.
No. And so I read a review from a person who actually read it. I think it was an advanced reader copy, or maybe it was from the book that came before it. And there is very much an acknowledgement of the black criminal stereotype via lines like, once you go black, you don't go back. Or how this very black character spends like paragraphs describing this white woman's body and how her skin looks against it. Like there's an acknowledgement there of all these things that have been stereotyped in this country about a black man dating a white woman. And instead of subverting any of it, she just played right in.
Right. I can't. It's like I don't know. And then you have them saying, you ask people to write diversely and then you're mad at them when they do.
I can't take it. It's so much every day. Every day it's something new. How many times must we go over this?
It's interesting to me because it's not like the book community is the same people as it was 3 years ago, right? There's constantly new people who either they're new to reading in general or they're new to the online space, right? So there's always new people who maybe have not had these conversations before. but at the same time,
It's
it's mostly
2022.
it's mostly just people, you know, they're just doing whatever they want, and then
Hmm.
they are super defensive when they get called out on it.
Yeah, and it's embarrassing every time. The argument that really just it chips away at my soul every time I hear it. Why can't I just read what I want to read?
Because then
Babes.
you can read what you want to read, but then publishing's going to give you 90% white books.
Yeah. Or
That's the
maybe
problem.
uh,
You cannot just randomly reach out for a book and have a 50-50 chance of it
mhm.
being diverse in any way. Not just
Mhm.
BIPOC or white, in any way. You don't have a 50-50 chance. So
You do not?
that's why you can't just read whatever you want.
Mhm.
And I truly do believe I believe so many things, actually. Opinion on a lot of things. But one, I think that reading diversely is the bar that is laying on the ground.
It is.
It's not the hard step. Like
Yep.
it is just the tiniest thing. And
Mhm.
the fact that people are not willing to do it, or they'll argue about it, or they are not willing to do any of their own exploring, right? And
Mhm.
that's why the token authors, one, they do tend to be more palatable in that sense, and
Mhm.
then two, they're the ones that get recommended over and over again.
Yeah.
That's why so many people never get past them, because if the person that they follow doesn't recommend it,
Mhm.
they're not going to be in any other space where like you can just have 30 black authors to pick from.
Yeah.
You can go through, like they're not in
Yeah.
any of the spaces.
Yeah.
So the token just, gets constantly passed around, and that's it.
Mhm.
That's it.
Exactly. Exactly. And I mean that's a scary enough thought because we see it in practice. Like we really do have such a microcosm of society in the book community where we can venture out of our kind of I dare say safer bubble, right? We have a very good
Right.
safe bubble here. And then
Right.
we venture into someone else's bubble and we can clearly see uh, so much reflected back at us from our outside lives. And
Right.
it's kind of scary, but also kind of neat because you know where to avoid, so that's nice. Um, but I would just love for people to acknowledge that like it's not hard. I started my entire platform off of because I wanted to show people it wasn't hard. I have not read. I read. I think this year I've read three non POC authors. It was not hard.
Right.
And I think those authors all were still fantasy. I didn't even know that they were not POC when I picked up the book. I genuinely did not know. So it was fine. It was whatever.
And
But I
that
do
is
have people, I do have people that are, after they look up like a book list I've put on the internet somewhere, like TikTok, they'll be like, oh, well, do you ever read white authors? And I go, yeah. Well, you never talk about them. They don't need my marketing.
I don't need your help.
They don't need my help. They do not need my help.
Right. Um, I forget what I was gonna say,
Oh,
but
sorry. I started rambling.
no, you're good. Because whatever I was thinking of was based off of what you said, so I would have never thought of it without you anyways. So oh, I know what it is. You can read diversely and read whatever you want. Like
Yeah.
whatever genre or trope or pacing or any of the things that you like. There are diverse authors in the whole range of it. They're writing
Yep.
what you like. You're just only hearing about the mainstream ones.
Mm-hmm.
So, I really do feel like if you are not giving any diverse recommendations yourself and you are not following people who give diverse recommendations yourself, I feel like you are supporting white supremacy and you are helping to perpetuate it. Like, I just believe that in my
Mm-hmm.
core, which is why I can't be book buddies with you, because no, like I
No.
know who I want to be comfortable in my space. We call it like a fruit fly or something. I don't know.
The pink fly is not comfortable in your space.
Like, I know who I want to be comfortable in my comment section and on my channel, and it's not white supremacists.
No.
So, no, I can't be book buddies with you. No, I can't have you on lives. No, I can't do buddy reads with you. No, I'm not going to be in your comment section talking about great video. Like, no, I'm not. And if after a few months I'm like, you know what, I don't know about this, then I'm going to quietly phase out.
Goodbye. Do the Homer Simpson into the bush. Goodbye.
Yeah, it really is that.
I mean, and that's really what you got to do. I think, it's, gosh, no one wants to be the one causing like a stink, right? You don't want to sit there calling someone out because you don't know their life. So the easiest thing for you to do is to observe, see what you see, and then just make your decision. And for me, for you, it seems, usually my decision is to just quietly skedaddle. So.
And also, I feel like this is, I guess, is a big thing too. I really judge people on how they react when they're called out for anything, because there's a right way and a wrong way to react, and being super defensive about it and doubling down about how you actually didn't do anything wrong and stuff. It's not what I'm looking for from you.
Right.
It's not. But at the same time, people tend to not react well when they're called out. So a lot of times you're not going to create the change you want to see. You're just going to have issues. And I think that's why it is important, especially if it's someone that you're mutual with or something. If they take the time to correct you, they're coming to you with the trust that you're going to receive it and not, go scorched earth and blocking them and talking about how they tried to ruin your life and tried to cancel you and everything. Like, that person's really placing a lot of trust that you have the capacity to care about this issue and change it. So.
Agreed. I think it also, like, let's say I said something just out of pocket and you came to me and you're like, hey, Neeks, you're going to need to apologize for that girl. I'd just be like, oh, damn, you're right. Because I trust that you would never be like, you would never get me for something small, right? You'd get me for something that was legitimately problematic. And that's, I don't believe that, I'm going to keep saying it like this. I don't believe that certain sections of our community, I don't believe that they have genuine connections with people. So I think that kind of filters into it. There's a lot of, let's just say there's a lot of fake friends, fake frenemies going on. And I think so when your fake frenemy tells you, hey, that's problematic, what are you going to do? You're going to be like, hey, that's that's what you're going to do. So again, I'm very fortunate that I have people that I do trust in this community that I know will snatch my ass right up if I do something bad. And I can trust in that. I don't think anyone's ever going to come at me sideways for nothing,
Right.
But I don't believe people have that trust in the community or in their friends, their friend group. I think that's a lot of it. Both reader and I'm sure authors have this as well. So yeah, you have to trust. You have to trust your community. It's a huge thing. Huge.
And so much of the relationships in the book community, it's like you putting a lot of groundwork in not knowing if that particular person is going to give that energy back to you or not, right?
Yeah.
Like, you need to be active with people because, a view with no comment, a view is great, but at the same time, I don't know that was you.
Right.
I don't know. So while you maybe are learning something about the creator, they're not forming a relationship with you, even if you are another creator, right? So the more things you're following people on, the more things that you're reacting to their content on, the more it's like, oh, this name is constantly popping up. I feel like I'm starting to know this person. And I feel like a lot of people do like want bookish friends, but they're never instigating the the contact.
Mm.
It's like, if you want a group chat, make a group chat. If you
Yeah.
want to talk to somebody, message them that you're reading the book that they recommended, right? It can't just be like, hi, I've never talked to you before, but do you want to like shout out my channel or something? Like, I feel like some people do that.
The what's the word I'm looking for? Exchange.
Parasocial relationship?
No, the transactional. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I have only 2 brain cells. There's also that element of like only wanting people for transactional relationships. Because speaking just as me, like I'm really introverted, but again, I don't know if I'd have any friends in this community if other people hadn't been like, hey Neeks, want to do a thing? And I'd be like, oh my God, you're speaking to me. Like, oh my God. You know, so that's just me. I don't know how many other people are also kind of like that, but there's also this aspect of people being super transactional. Hey, will you shout out my channel because you have this many followers and I only have this many, but when I have more, I'll shout out your channel. You know, stuff like that. And that's
right. That's
slimy. I don't like that, but I get it when people are trying to legitimately make like an influencer sort of platform. Another whole topic, but I just believe that every Booktube, every Booktok, that's an influencer channel at that point. You are influencing. But I get people who really want to make like huge connections with huge publishing houses so that they get all the free book boxes and all this stuff. So I get that. That's a completely different conversation. But transactional relationships, I feel, are very prevalent in this community. And I think that's when you get that sort of like, well, I commented on your video, you didn't comment on mine. I'm having a live and you didn't get on it. So I'm not going to go on yours, even though that's a topic that I'm passionate about, you know, stuff like that. And I'm just like,
right.
Get that out of here. But genuine relationships, yes, unfortunately, because of the nature of the internet, you do have to kind of get on your tippy tappies, you know, and reach out on occasion. So that's an interesting point. I've never even thought about that because I'm such an introvert in my brain. I never even thought about that at all.
See, I'm an introvert in the sense that I need alone time to recharge. Like, social drains me for sure, but I'm not like a shy introvert. I feel like a lot of people feel like shy and introvert are the same thing, and they're not. They're not the same thing. Pet peeve moment. Introvert means that you recharge by yourself. Extrovert means you recharge by social interactions.
Yeah.
It has not one single thing to do with bashful or shy or outgoing or loud or quiet. They're different words and they don't mean the same thing.
No.
And it just kills me slowly every time I see them like interchanged in the wrong way, and I'm like, that's not what that means. I feel that way about a lot of words, to be perfectly honest. But
understood. You're a reader. That's what you do.
But readers like tend to be introverted. Obviously, like one of your main hobbies is a by yourself hobbies, and it doesn't make sense to do it if it's something that's draining to you rather than recharging for you. So most readers are by default going to be someone who recharges on their own.
Yep.
Again, it's good. I'm right there with you. I'm an introvert. But at the same time, I feel people sometimes people will be like, I've watched all of your videos ever, and I'm like, I have never seen a single comment. Like, I don't know who you are. And then there's other people who watch like, you know, an occasional video, but they're interacting in like lots of different ways. And I feel like I know them better, even though they're maybe not as big of a fan as someone else who I don't know their profile or anything. Just interesting.
It's very interesting. I'm now thinking about all kinds of things.
All right. Do I have anything else on this list? I truly don't know. I feel like not really. Do you have anything? I guess
no, I was
a little bit. I've been ignoring, even though I complain about it all the time when people do
that. You've become what you loathe.
Listen, I'm too tired to multitask tonight. Like, if I want to stay on topic at all, it's going to be by focusing.
I believe in you. Yeah.
So, do you think that Barnes& Noble is doing this because of financial difficulties?
So let's talk about it. Because Aiden, again, love Aiden. If he said jump, I'm saying how high. I love Aiden. Okay. But
Right.
they made such a good thread that basically outlined how Barnes and Noble and I guess other big brick and mortars, which is just them now, get their books from printers when they get it on a basis of credit. And you can return the unsold books later, and you get more printed XYZ XYZ. Now, their theory was that maybe Barnes and Noble is running out of credit, thus making it harder for them to procure books, hardback books of a bunch of different varieties. And that's why this is happening. I personally don't think that's what it is. I think this is capitalist corruption of the highest degree. Now, put on your tinfoil hat with me. I believe. Now, someone else, Iggy, pointed out in my comment section about the investment group. And they said sometimes investment groups will purposefully tank a business to get that insurance payout and give, extra bonuses to shareholders and stuff. Tinfoil hat. Now,
Right.
what if, follow me here. Okay. I'm thinking about this.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
What if Iggy's onto something and Elliott Management, what is the freaking name? We're calling it Elliott now. Elliott Management Investment Firm. What if they are working for the conservatives that are trying to steal everything right now? Therefore, all BIPOC, all LGBTQIA, all disabled, all those books gotta go. What's the best way to do it besides book banning? You kill the stores they're in.
Okay. Okay. Do you think that this is any sort of reaction to the lawsuit over the SJM book?
Yes.
And what's the other one?
That
was challenged.
It's not Pet. I don't know why I keep thinking Pet. I'm sure Pet's on the list, but that wasn't the specific book.
Someone
Anybody in the comments?
Our minds aren't gonna get it. Even though as soon as someone says, I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, that was
That's the one. Wait. Yeah, but what's the LGBT book?
Yeah.
Mandy, help us. Help us, Mandy. Well, wait.
But I know it's a queer book with like a very queer title.
Yeah. George, maybe? I can't recall. No, Mandy. Mandy, you were to save us.
I thought we were supposed to be like a bunch of experts on this.
It is 10 p.m. Something queer?
Gender queer?
Gender queer. Right? Yes.
You and me, Mandy, we got it together.
Mandy did it. Yes, I fully think this is in response to that. And I think it's all connected. Again, tinfoil hat. Quote me, don't quote me, whatever you want. Just don't send the FBI. But I fully think it's all connected. And I think, and I'm just one of those people that's like, oh, are rich people involved? Yeah, it's the GOP. Yeah.
Right. I'm always kind of curious because capitalism is based on white supremacy, right? And ableism is based on white supremacy, and homophobia is based on white supremacy. So I'm always kind of like, I wonder if the end of capitalism comes first, and then that helps dismantle white supremacy, or if white supremacy being the root of all things, if no real change will be made until you see like a change in the overall general public's belief in that system. because a lot of people believe in it without realizing that they believe in it, right? Because everything is rooted in it, everything spreads it, everything kind of fits into it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you're like, oh no, I don't hate Black people, but at the same time, you're like, just obey the police and you'll be okay. Just just work hard and and it's like
pull yourself up.
It doesn't work that way actually.
It does not. And I think I've always said this. I've been saying this for as long as we've been seeing this uptick in absolute assholery. White supremacy will go out with a loud death knell. Loud. Right. And that's what we're seeing right now. We are seeing the end of people allowing the government to use racial supremacy to control people. I mean, there are tons of white people who maybe gave fully into the system of being like, well, white people are superior. Now they're understanding it was never about white or Black. It was about rich and poor. Now they're seeing what the actual basis for all of this stuff is. And there's that famous quote, you convince the poorest white man that he's better than a Black man, you got him for good.
Right.
So I think we're seeing the end of racial warfare as people start to quote unquote wake up, and we're seeing the beginning of people understand that this has been a class war the whole time. Again, not to be a tinfoil hat, I'm so sorry.
Proceed. I feel like it's all a big pushback and stuff, and obviously you have the right to choose being taken away, all sorts of things are happening at like a very rapid rate, right?
Yes.
So I am just kind of curious, and I try not to stress myself out of my mind over things that I truly don't have control over, right? So I try not to, but at the same time, I'm just like wondering to myself, how long will this last? Because it's not going to last forever. It's not going to last forever. Eventually, it's going to get so bad that people will push back against it. And do you follow Jiren J. Zhao?
Yes.
They've said, I think they said it. It might not have even been that. I don't know. But you know how they're always posting on Twitter about the French Revolution and stuff? I saw someone say that like share a chart, and America is like way past the point of France with the division of wealth. It's like way past the point that France was when they had their revolution. I'm like, oh, that's very interesting, because you do kind of just wonder, how long does it have to be bad, and how bad does it have to be before people are like, we are not living like this anymore?
3 missed meals. That's the prediction. That's always the prediction. And in this country, what's really interesting is, for as bad as we can all see it is, people are still able to eat and house themselves, but that's quickly diminishing. We're losing housing. People are purposefully leaving apartments vacant to create false scarcity. I'm not trying to scare everybody, by the way. I'm so sorry. But, these things that we're seeing happening in rapid succession because of things like corporate greed, and people being like, I'm not giving up my supremacy and my guns, and people trying to create a literal forced birth workforce. Do you think that we're not about to see something bad happen? Something bad is happening. We don't know what it is yet, but I guarantee you it will happen the second people start missing meals.
I think that's a very good point, actually. I do.
So I've thought about this a lot. And mainly because I'm like, oh God, what if I have to escape the city?
It's hard not to, because everything is a dumpster fire. And with the internet, you are able to see the bad thing that's happening everywhere, every day. And it's too much. But
it's too much.
Which, again, is why I feel like you can't require any one creator to comment on every single thing.
Correct.
That happens. Just like watch their pattern. Do they seem to care about people who are not themselves and or do not look like them? Do they care about those people? Then I think it's safe to say that you probably know what side they're on for any given event, even if they didn't comment on it. And I do comment on things like quite a bit, but I know there's been like weird things where people, the thing that comes to mind, and I don't really want to, well, yeah, I'll just say it. Back when Jesse from Bow Ties and Books, when their abuela was like dying and there was stuff going on in the Philippines, and they didn't comment on the Philippines, and people were like, "How can you say that you care?" And it's like, you can
Can
say
we
that
let
you
them
care
grieve?
and not comment on something happening halfway across the world, and you can care about the thing, but you can also have things going on in your own life that
Yeah.
week. That means that maybe you're not going to be the most active, you know, participant in online discourse. And it's weird to me when people will be like, yeah, you recommend Filipino authors, but you're not talking about the politics of the Philippines.
Right.
And it's like, I'm not saying that it is wrong for you to point out that those things are important. But at the same time, one, you kind of want people who have some idea what they're talking about to speak on it. So a retweet is often better than saying your own piece when you truly just have no idea what's going
Right.
on. You've never heard of the situation before today. Like, you know nothing. Um, and or again, like, reading diversely is the bar that's lying on the ground.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you should recommend authors of different backgrounds, even if maybe you don't know everything there is to know about the political situation and or the latest crisis and or the latest scandal.
I agree. And it also plays into this thing where, like, again, I talked about there are influencers in our community. I will never ever deny that. I fully believe that this, like, book, the reader side can have, how do I say this? Book celebrity. There's some people who are up a little higher than everybody else via celebrity, right? They have connections. They do whatever. And it's when you put them into this position where you expect them to be super perfect and knowledgeable about everything, you are not just hurting them, you are hurting yourself. You've made your access to information so narrow and so dependent on this person.
Right.
Why? Why would you do this? Use more. More people exist. The news exists. I know it's scary, but I don't agree with idol worship, let's say, in this community. I don't agree with it when it comes to, like, Chris Evans. Would I get down on my knees for that man? Absolutely. Absolutely. But I would never worship that man outside of the bedroom. That's how it works.
I always find it interesting. And by all public information, he seems like a decent human being, right?
Right.
But I just found it so interesting when he did like the puppy interview, and people were like, "This proves he's the golden human." And I was like,
No,
"What
it
if somebody's
doesn't.
like not going to interact with puppies for their PR
Right?
interview with puppies?"
Oh my God. And it's just, I can't get behind it. Again, sure, he's a nice guy. I'm positive he has great qualities. Why would you think that he is God for playing with puppies?
Right.
I want to play with puppies. Am I God? No.
Right. Yeah.
It astounds me. And again, I just think that there's a level of escapism that's great, and then there's a level of escapism that's just not okay. And that's when you get into, like, stan culture and false idol worship. Not even to get religious, because I'm not religious at all. I feel like the term rings true here. And when we start worshiping people in a community of readers that is made up of literal regular Joe Schmoes, there's a problem. There's a problem.
And also when you are so into that creator or that author, whatever, that you will defend any and everything that they do in like brutal ways.
No.
You have crossed the line at some point. Like,
Absolutely.
there are definitely criticisms that I hear, right, that I personally think are unwarranted. And sometimes it's just like, it's not my community, it's not my, like, I can disagree all I want and it doesn't matter that I disagree. And I really do try and sit with it. I'm like, okay, do I disagree with it because I just, have gone through all the things and have come to this conclusion? Or have I come to this conclusion because of my experience as a white cis woman? And is that why, my conclusion ends up here? As much as I try to logically think about it, I'm like, well, this, like, I don't feel like there's anything wrong with that. But then people, a large group of people with a different experience from me, do take issue with that. Well, then I'm not ever going to be like, that author did nothing wrong. Or I'm not even going to like recommend the book. Like, I just feel like truly the TBR is never ending. And that you don't have to read or recommend problematic authors.
You don't.
You just don't.
And are they gonna suddenly be at your house for a sleepover? No, I promise you they aren't. I promise you they don't give a shit.
And like, I personally, I don't like retroactively go back and change my reviews or ratings. If I find out something about an author that I'm no longer recommending their books, that's what I do. I no longer recommend their books. I don't go back like a year and find every video I mentioned their book in and delete it off the channel and 1-star on Goodreads and all the things. I just stop recommending them.
Yes. It's so simple.
Not that hard.
There was who was it? Oh my god, I can't even remember. But I recommended, like, at the very beginning of my channel when I started it, I recommended an author that became problematic. I cannot remember who it is. I probably don't even have the book anymore. But like, someone commented on that video maybe 2 years after the fact and was like, "How dare you recommend that?" And I went, "Well, if you watched any of my recent videos or any video after this specific video, you'll notice that that book is nowhere to be found on my bookshelf. I do not speak of it. It is not using my platform at all. It's so easy for you to just not platform something. You just don't talk about it. I don't speak about Harry Potter. Well, I just did, but you know what I mean? Like, I'm not sitting here like, oh, my house is my favorite book is, I don't give platform to problematic authors. It's really simple to just not talk about them and give them free advertising. And it's even easier to advertise for authors that you do really like and that you do believe in, you want to see succeed. So that's what I wish people would do more of, instead of like giving energy to, here's my 15-minute video of why I'm not supporting J.K. Turfling anymore, right? Like, you don't have to do all that. Just stop talking about her.
Right.
It's annoying. It's annoying. It's annoying.
Right. It is. Truly it is.
I'm just going to keep shaking my fist at the sky. I think I'm not on Twitter, Facebook like that. I'm really, once, twice a year. Oh, yeah. How do I, that's a great question. Because I only know about it sometimes because of Twitter or because of Booktok.
Right.
Facebook is not a place for you to engage in critical thinking at all. I have tried, and people and their Aunt Susan always come in. You're just messing up the reading experience for everybody else. Why can't we read what we want? No, not everything is about race. No, it isn't, Aunt Susan. But and yet here we are with Where the Crawdads Sing, getting a movie.
Yeah, and so then everyone in their book club are picking it. It's just kind of wild how I guess, like, there's nothing so bad. Like, there's nothing you could do that is so bad that people won't be like, but it's a good story. Separate the art from the artist.
No. If I ever have a phrase that will instantly trigger me, it's that one. Separate the artist from the artist. No. I
You
won't
can't.
do it.
You
Ugh.
can't. Plus, even if you could, oh, okay, wait. I just thought of a thing that I forgot earlier that I really wanted to ask you, which I maybe just forgot again.
Please get it together.
Oh, what is it? Oh, okay. Let me spit this out really quickly.
Okay, I'm
Do
focused.
you feel like part of the problem with publishing is that they make it feel like a gift and a privilege and the opportunity of a lifetime, and that they are delivering your dream to you and doing you a favor by publishing your book?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Do
Because
you
let me
feel
be real
like,
with you. Let me be real with you, okay? If someone tomorrow was like, Nika, we are going to publish your book. We have full marketing behind you. You will not have to do a single TikTok dance, but you have to stop talking that shit on the internet. I'd be like, yeah, all right, I'll think about it.
right,
Yeah, I'd have to think about it, honestly, because it is a dream for so many people to be published. Whether you're Black, whether you're um, a different like racial marginalization, whether
right,
you're disabled and your character represents your specific disability, right? Whether you are LGBTQIA plus and you have not seen someone represent your specific orientation, you are going to want that so bad that you can taste it.
right,
So maybe, someone gives you that chance, maybe you take it because you just absolutely cannot say no to that. Now me, because I enjoy talking shit, I would have to say no. I can't be quiet. That's just not possible for me. But you're right. I absolutely think that they are able to undercut people by a large margin because they are selling you your dream and telling you to eat dirt with it.
right. I was going to say too, do you think that that's why so many positions in publishing are paid like nothing?
Absolutely.
It's like, well, it's an opportunity. It's not about
But
the money. It's about the
y'all,
love of the art.
yeah, you have to love the art and have sleep for dinner. Like where,
And
bitch,
or
please.
be independently wealthy,
Yeah,
which
it's
is why the
it's
people who stay there for a long time are usually independently wealthy.
yes. So speaking of that, and this is why I really want to see just the industry get flipped on its head. Because when you think about the chain of the art, right? The author spends a year to however many years souping this manuscript, making it great, and then they send it to a literary agent. The literary agent decides whether they get past the first gate. Now, let's say they do get signed with that literary agent. That literary agent has to sell it to an editor at a publishing house. The editor at the publishing house now becomes the second gate that they need to get through. Once the editor presents it to a bunch of people and finally acquires the book, that book may not even make it to print because the editor at some point decides to drop it. So, in essence, nothing has been done at all. So, let's think for a second. Let's say authors just start putting out their own work without the oversight of the grand overseer in the ivory tower, right? Which, I didn't mention before, but they get paid pennies anyway. So they get paid in like quarters now instead of thirds. It's really messed up. And on top of
Right.
that, editors only get paid when that book goes, bingo bongos. Literary agents only get paid when the author gets paid. So let's reverse that a little bit, right? Because the guy at the top gets paid the most. Let's say authors, pay for their editor, pay for their artist, pay for whatever. Now I know this is a barrier to entry. There are ways around certain things. You can get a specific deal. Now, instead of you paying a fourth person, you instead only pay your editor, your artist, your marketing team. Whatever that may be, you can have a street team, you can have a legitimate PR agent, you can have whatever you want. But still, all the money from those sales, because you've already paid these people, now comes funneling back to you. Doesn't that sound nicer than being paid in
Right.
quarters
Right.
and maybe earning out? Doesn't that
Right.
sound nicer than funding someone else's private jet?
Right.
you know it all That's why this is what I want to see. I know I'm not saying I want literary agents to not have jobs. I am saying that there will be a place for them in this grand scheme when I think about it more before I start a revolution about
Right.
publishing.
I ju- I think that one, I think that there's such a lack of transparency with payments and stuff that's
Oh yeah.
absolutely wild. Because, which, that's a problem everywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
But publishing, it really is just, yeah, you don't know what you're gonna make or when you're gonna make it or
No.
how your book is doing or
Mm-hmm.
any of the
Well,
things or how much money they're making off of you.
that is, I don't want to say that's transparent, but I do know that publishing houses have the ability to show you like how many copies you sold, and how close you are to earning out. But
Right.
what I've also heard is with this new 4-part payment style, some people aren't even getting that last payment within the first 4 years of that book being out.
Right.
So basically the machine they're creating is you keep writing books and we keep putting you on a payment schedule and you will get paid eventually. And it's kind of
Right.
disgustingly insidious. So you're 100% right. I'm not sure how publishing decides to get paid. I do know that the advance is basically like, here you have you get 5,000 now, you get 5,000 on turn in, and you'll get 5,000 after the book is out, and then you get another 5,000 at some point elsewhere. It all depends on what their contract says and their payout schedule, but some authors don't earn out. Some
Right.
authors don't have a great earn out like ratio. I think they want percentage is the word I'm looking for. So a lot of that money just goes straight back into the company. Additionally, they're on top of that, the labor that authors now have to put in is way higher than it used to be, because it used to be authors would be these solitary creatures in, you know, riverside cottages that would only be seen for like once a year. And now they have authors doing TikTok dances and making YouTube videos and getting on Twitter to interact with people, doing the job of an entire marketing department. So I, it's not transparent via what the author knows. It's transparent via the fact that we now know that their schedule for payments is absolute shite. So it's all bad. It's all bad. They've created a machine that cannot sustain itself, and they're desperately trying to via this Penguin Random House trial, uh,
Right.
which would only be, it would be bad news for authors if they win. If Penguin Random House wins, it would be bad.
Right.
And I hope everyone starts self-publishing. I
Right.
hope everyone does.
And it's always weird to me as a reader because I kind of view the author as the only indispensable part.
Correct. Correct.
And yet it really is just so much catered to. We are doing you a favor. We are giving you a chance to live your dream. And I guess when you spend, your whole life wanting to sell that book and wanting to get a book read and wanting to see your name in a bookstore or on a list or whatever it is, I do feel like one, you'd be willing to sell a lot of different parts of yourself to
Yeah.
achieve that dream, just the same way that an athlete would or any other person who has to sacrifice to get to be at the top.
Yeah.
And also they're let go so easily that I feel like a lot of authors feel like they cannot push back on anything.
Yeah.
Because one, it won't create the change, and two, they might just decide you're more trouble than you're worth
Exactly.
and just get somebody else.
Yeah.
Who will be happy to have their dream done and will do whatever they're told.
Exactly. We'll just find another. I was about to say shrimp. We'll find another lemming. It's they find authors to be replaceable, and that's so sad when we're talking about a medium that so heavily relies on someone's individual creativity to produce. Right. It's like, I think so many more authors, if they participated in that publishing paid me, we'd be horrified, because I spat out my water when I saw what N.K. Jemisin got paid. I was like, you have to be out of your mind to pay
Yeah.
N.K. Jemisin that little money for her books.
Right.
So I lost it. That's when I knew that the machine was broken. That really showed me the machine was broken.
Mm-hmm.
And it continues to be broken, because I think, Vixen mentioned, many don't earn out. They aren't promoted very well by the publisher, and it's a massive cycle. They'll just toss you aside if they do something wrong and they don't promote you.
Right.
They'll toss you aside if you get into a Twitter scandal that they feel is like too much.
Right.
There's no protection for authors. They don't have a union. They don't have any muscle, right?
Right.
It's disturbing in a lot of ways. I'm so happy for the authors that are making it right now and continue to be in the game, but I'm worried.
Right. And the reality is, if you are an indie author, you do tend to be at the mercy of Amazon.
Yep.
And their policies and their removes all your books from our platform without any reason or any chance to appeal. I mean, you can appeal, but we're never going to answer you.
Yep.
That type of thing. Yeah. And of course, again, I do feel like it all ties back to white supremacy in the sense that everyone and anyone can be affected by it, but it will always probably be more of an issue for Black and brown authors, queer authors, disabled authors. On and on and on it goes.
Every time. I'm sure that we're just not seeing it publicly, but I know that these authors are, they're banding together behind the scenes. They have to be, right? They're not looking at this trial and going, oh, la-di-da, it'll all be fine. No, they're getting ready to batten down the hatches. These are smart people who've been in the game long enough to know what to do. So I don't foresee us seeing such a disruption via their stories, but I do see a disruption via like getting information about their stories out like mass wide. And that's kind of worrisome, again, for, BIPOC, disabled, LGBTQIA+. But I know that they can do it. I believe in them. We all just have to believe at this point. We have to hang on by faith. That's all we have.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we were able to solve all publishing's issues if they just watch this live. We did it. We did it, people.
Listen to two randos on the internet. Everything is solved.
We know everything that we're talking about, and we definitely got all the numbers right, and it'll work. Trust me. Just try it out.
Listen, they might as well run us that check now, okay? We fixed it.
We did it. Single-handed.
I'm so proud of us for saving the world.
Good stuff. I don't know. It's interesting. I guess this isn't true. I was gonna say it feels like a lot of people do agree. It just doesn't tend to be the people with the power at the top of the pyramid scheme, right?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you're always going to have people who are like, "No, everything is fine." But a lot of people, especially just again with all of the things happening back to back to back to back, like it has been the last few years. It just seems like people are kind of like, I'm kind of over this. It feels like a scam.
It's all a scam. Anything you look at, it's a scam. Every part of it's a scam. Okay, we are readers. We have all known, I believe, but I think it's more apparent this year. Publishing's a scam. The authors that we love, they are not getting paid enough. It's a scam. The editor who made that book, super clean, it's a scam. They're not paid enough. It's all coming out, which is really great. But now people are asking themselves, oh, how do I not participate in the system when you have to keep participating in the system? And that's just how it's designed. And I promise you, if this trial goes the way that I fear it will, we're going to see some interesting things. But again, tinfoil hat, this is all related to capitalist white supremacy. All of it. When you control books, when you control the media, when you control food supply, when you control clothing and import, you control a nation of people. And when you control reproductive rates, you control the nation of people. And there are enough people, like I said, waking up or already woken up, who just, once you take away their will to have anything, such as housing, they're not going to have anything to lose. and we're gonna see some really weird stuff. So that's just how it is. Keep messing with the American public if you want to. I laugh, even though I know that this is scary for everybody. It's scary for me too. I live by myself in a hugely populated city. I'm scared all the time. But at the same time, I find it hilarious because I'm like, keep messing with these people if you want to, GOP. Keep doing it. They are going to be very angry at you.
Right. You have to assume that at some point in time it gets pushed past the line to where it's not going to just stay the same.
Yeah.
It's all going to get changed. But
it's topple the empire. It's about that time.
I agree.
It's about damn time.
Exactly. Lizzo is the leader of the revolution.
If only. No, it's again, I don't want to be the person scaring people with serious talk, but I fully believe in the community, some parts of it, to make sure that this transition that's going to happen happens for the betterment of authors who are providing us with this joy and a reason to gather usually. So I do believe in that. I believe that publishing, the higher ups are either going to learn quickly or slowly that we poors that buy their stuff will not stand for this anymore. I think they're going to learn that, by fire or by water, they're going to learn. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wish this was a more hopeful conversation.
It's not.
It's not. I think it can be, but I think we need to see the results of the trial. We need to see what happens with Barnes and Noble, and then make a plan. Because those of us who read diversely, we're not going to stop reading diversely. We're just going to figure out new ways to connect, But until that new way to connect happens, now it just feels like we're up in the air,
Yep, I do. And yeah, I think that there is hope for things to change in the future. I just feel like right now is probably going to be a not so great time. And I feel like, and I do particularly feel bad for authors who are debuting right now or who are going to just be massively impacted in a way that either they can no longer make this their career because they were not able to live off of it, and or they just got really discouraged and really disillusioned about it, or like, I am not devoting my life to this when anybody can stop me. Like the slightest thing, it's like, no, you're no longer going to have your book in stores. So
no, I fully understand. Again, I could go into it again, tinfoil hatty moment, but once they break your soul, which Beyonce said, do not let them break your soul. But once they do it, it's very hard for you to find joy in the thing that made you happy, which is writing books. They keep you at a 9 to 5. You can't write books about, brown children overcoming oppressors. You can't do it. You can't inspire people. It's stuff like that. And maybe they're not doing that on purpose, right? But that's definitely a side effect of it, of stifling these voices. And I don't know. I just want to see people be happy.
It's the constant turnover, right? It really is. You can almost see the shelf life of the different positions.
Yeah.
And it's like 2 years or it's like 3 years, and then there's the next one in.
Yeah. But I don't know. Like, I know that people were making jokes about a term called like white ally fatigue, but I genuinely believe that it was true. Oh no.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
Because again, so much of it comes back to caring, right? And choosing to care. And if you don't have to fight or you don't have to care, and your life will be just as good, quote unquote, then yeah, I feel like you're going to be a weak link in the sense that You can decide, that it's not that big of a deal, and your life will be perfectly fine.
Yep. Yeah. That's it.
And also, people want to see change, and they want to see change in like a week.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a week or a month or a year or a decade, honestly, as we have proven over the
Yep.
entire history of the country.
Ugh.
But, and also just my observation, a lot of people do jump in conversations that they don't have a place being in, and or they shouldn't be commenting on that, or they don't know enough about it yet, or it's just not their place at all,
Mm-hmm.
ever, no matter who they agree with. And then when they have the slightest amount of pushback, or the hey, like, no, cut it out, they're like, this wasn't worth it anyways.
Yeah. The the weakness of it all,
It's just self-centering. Again, it goes back to caring. Do you
Yeah.
actually care? Or do you want people to feel like you're a good person, or to like you for it, or to feel like you're one of the good ones, or what have you?
That's what it
Right?
is.
Because there will be so many people in the same tweet or the same comment or whatever, they will be claiming allyship
Mm-hmm.
and perpetuating harm in
Yep.
the same comments.
Yep. I mean, it
Uh,
like the Hood River Rat lady. She was like, I would never do that. I have black friends. Like, no one cares about your imaginary black friend, Brenda. I don't think her name is Brenda, but
no, it's Kay Webster,
oh,
and
there we
I
go.
read one book by her last
Gasp!
2 years, something like that. No,
Mm.
listen. I read it because it was gifted to me, and I did a blog where I read like all of my physical TBR, right?
Oh, nice.
And when I tell you that it is one of my most hated books of all time,
Really?
oh, I can rant about it endlessly.
So
And
even before this,
so much. So when I read that, I was like, oh, I'm never reading her again. I do not care how much you all are like, no, this one's really good. I do not care. If she
oh
was
my
able to
lord,
write this, I am not the queen for her. Like, we're not we're not compatible.
we're not,
Sorry.
we're not friends.
So like, she is firmly on my do not ever read again list.
Oh my
So
gosh.
listen. Okay, listen. The book is coin, and it's a motorcycle club romance, and it's a daddy kink romance, okay?
Daddy.
Cool. I read both of those things. We don't have a problem so far. We're fine.
And then
Oh my God. Listen, the amount of things. Okay, number one, she's like 17 or 18. Number
mhm.
two, a teenage runaway. Number three, she's a teenage runaway from a very rich family. Two, sheltered white girls tend to leave their very rich, protective environments if everything is fine. I'm gonna go with probably not.
Uh-huh.
So she's with her boyfriend or whatever. He's like a random motorcycle club president's son or whatever. And his dad like tries to rape her, and then the hero rescues her. Okay? All right. Cool. This has not been a fun time. Oh, also the prologue of the book, the hero's wife and daughter are raped and killed in front of him, and he doesn't get the guy. Okay? So we're like 20% into the book at this point. It's been rough. It's not been a good time, but maybe the worst is over. Let me tell you, no, it was not. No, it was not.
Oh my lord.
So the main character looks a lot like this man's dead daughter. So he's like projecting issues over his daughter being raped and killed in front of him. And that's the daddy kink. And I was like, this
No.
is not daddy kink. This is not what this is. That's not what that is. So he's, not the nicest person. And we have this definite issue where he's like more than twice her age, and his dead daughter would be older than her if she was still alive. But, okay. And we have this weird projection. Then the girl, he like finds out that she is this rich man's daughter, right? And that she ran away. And so without ever talking to her about why she ran away from home, he drugs her and returns her to her father, who, it just so happens, was locking her in her bedroom and raping her. So you have incest and you have more rape. Then the guy who raped and killed his wife and daughter is friends with her dad and is also raping her. Then the hero decides to watch the security, like he has one of his guys hack into the security footage, sees the rapist that he knows he's watched with his own eyes rape people in front of him, right? His loved ones. He sees him leaving her bedroom and is like, she was in on it the whole time.
Goodbye, cruel world.
I was like, what? You know he's a rapist and you're like, consensual. She trapped me.
she did this.
So he goes in. He captures her. He locks her up in this torture room and he's going to kill her. And then she's like, I know. I know if I provoke his memory of his daughter,
no,
he will treat me well.
No. No. Please, God.
So then, it's not good. And then they end up killing people or whatever after he threatens to kill her. And he never says he's sorry and he never asks her for forgiveness. Oh, and she's like 18 and pregnant already. And then they live happily ever after. And I was like, if I literally do not think that one, your hero is better than the rapist villain, and two, I literally wish the hero had died in your romance book.
Yeah.
You did not achieve your mission.
She needed to cut the typewriter on that one. Just pull the whole sheet out. Oh, dear God.
One of my all-time most hate. I could not. We just kept going, and I was like, surely we're done. We're past the bad part. We are now going to have goodness. No, you're just gonna have more rape and more extreme issues.
Hold on. Gross man's? Yeah, no, that's the comment I believe my eyes needed to see, because
what?
Was
the whole thing.
Whom? I want to know. Wow, I can't even form a sentence.
It was wild. I
want to talk to a manager.
So yeah, at that point in time, I was just like, I don't care if you've read the best book the world has ever seen. I will not be reading it. That was a bad experience.
Indeed, it was bad to hear about it. I'm worse for it. So thank you.
There was more.
No.
Listen, there was more.
No. There can't be. We can't have incest by proxy, multiple rep.
There was more.
What do we?
Okay. So one of the things, watched his wife and daughter go through was anal, right? And of course it was awful because it was rape, and he was like,
don't say it.
I've got to protect you.
Don't.
I've got to protect you. Well, let me use a little spit and a little passion.
No.
When it happens to you, it will be okay because I will have been your first time, even though I kind of did it the same. Like there was nothing helpful that happening there. I was I was losing my mind a little bit. Don't ask me why I finished the book. I really don't know. But also, this was a part that like frustrated me so much. The writing was pretty good, and I kept being like, surely that's it. Like, I've already read all this. I want to read like the part where they're a happy couple. No. And by then I was just like, oh no, I'm finishing this because I am going to rant about this so much.
I cannot believe it. I can't believe. I literally. Okay.
Webster.
Huh?
So
yeah. K. Webster, Woman of the Week, really. Just leave it alone. Walk away.
Yeah. Well, like, she does say that she's like all for pushing the envelope. That was part of her like apology. All for pushing the envelope, but not in this way.
I have read my fair share of dark romance, right? Like, but they have the wherewithal to understand there are things that you must do in moderation. We must stay focused. We must stay focused. Oh, I am stunned. Yeah. Truly. I began to weep.
I'm telling you, it's like one of the worst things I have ever read.
I couldn't believe it kept going. You just kept going. I can't believe you read it all.
Something all right.
Something. Yes.
There was more. There was more. There was more.
My poor spirit cannot take any more of her nonsense. Dear Lord, I'm stunned. I'm speechless.
So we'll just end it there with the knowledge that the world is indeed on fire,
and K. Webster exists with that book. More fire.
Listen, I cannot, in good faith, tell you that it's a good idea.
Nar.
It was something all right.
Oh, dear Lord. Well, thank you for gracing us, blessing us truly with this synopsis of K. Webster's classic Motorcycle Gang Rape Man. I don't know the actual title.
So even if she wasn't racist, I would argue not to read her. But since she is, I would just like to point out that perhaps you're not missing anything.
Perhaps, mayhaps, indeed.
That's fine. Just got that one. So there you go.
Now I know. Mike's Super Short Show. You know.
When you're feeling insecure about your work in progress, you can just be like, well, you know,
I didn't write that.
I don't think it's going to be that bad.
Yeah, you know, that really does help though, because now I can, I'm sitting there feeling bad about myself, and I can go, but I'm not K. Webster. Yay me!
You're not. You're already winning.
I'm already winning. You're right.
All right.
Every accomplishment.
Thank you, everyone, for watching and joining us. Thank you so much, Neeks, for talking with me. Really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Always my pleasure.
Yeah. Now the world is a better place, and you all know not to read K. Webster.
Oh, and we solved publishing's issues.
We solved publishing.
We did.
And yeah, in the future, you can pick up any book you want and it will be diverse.
Yes.
That's the future we have envisioned for today. So thanks. Bye.